Yeah, so forgive me for the disheveled look. It's an odd hour of the night. You know what? Sometimes I just wake up at apparently at what are we? 1 a.m. I think we're 1 a.m. 2 a.m. Jesus Christ. Sometimes I wake up at 2 a.m. and I'm like, you know what? I feel like shooting a video. Hey, voila. This is what you get. Listen, can we can we be can we say it? Is it okay now? Is it cool to say that this is the best gaming generation so far? Admitted, you cowards. Listen, I don't know when it became fashionable to hate gaming, but it has become overly fashionable to complain about things and to do this and to do that and to talk about nostalgia and yesteryear. It sucks because I feel like I'm not yet old enough, and the people that I generally listen to are not yet old enough to be of the back in my day generation. And yet, it feels like I'm watching it happen in real time, but also prematurely. Like, bro, I'm not 60. Most of you are not 60. You don't have the right to have this yearn and this rose tinted nostalgia for days gone that honestly never happened that way. Listen, the PlayStation 5 and its cohort of devices, whether that is the Switch or the Switch 3, I don't even know where the Switch fits in, but the Xbox Series X as well, they have given us some of the best gaming experiences ever, pretty much since I was born. Like, okay, if you're over 60 years old and you loved Nintendo 64 that much when it came out, or those games back in the arcade, or the fucking Atari 1005, I don't know what the fuck you were playing. But the point is, this is better. Listen, I don't know. Like, when did it become so fashionable to hate gaming? Somewhere along the way. I think this generation started and people from the pretty much from the onset decided that they will be disappointed in it. And so every little thing that happened was criticized and mocked and ridiculed. And this generation also, as far as world events, has had perhaps the most disruptive start in the pandemic. And then it just seems like every single console launch this particular generation has something disastrous associated with it. The PlayStation 5 and the Series X um, obviously had the pandemic to contend with. And now Nintendo was nearly sidetracked by these tariffs that were on again and off again and on again and off again. So it's a bit of turbulence. On top of that, this is the generation where I feel like most people deeply feel the protracted development cycles, the expanded budgets, and everything like that. But then at the same time, is a generation where we have been the most informed and the most disinformed about what is actually going on behind the scenes. I think now we have too much access to information. And when information becomes so readily available, it ironically also becomes easily disposable. And good quality information then has to compete with all the noise of what everybody else is saying. Like everybody has a podcast, everybody, has a microphone. I have a microphone, we all have the platform in YouTube or TikTok or Twitters or wherever it is that we find our place to upload, and it has just created a lot of noise. And the most common refrain of all of that noise, all of that cacophony, is basically this generation sucks. And people have different reasons for it. For some people, it is what Microsoft is pulling with the Xbox, how they're pulling the games everywhere and they're diluting the brand and the brand identity. And that's all very sad. And, you know, it is a favorite topic of discussion amongst many. Fair enough. For some people, it's on the PlayStation side. They feel like the PlayStation studios have not been firing on all cylinders. They yearn back to the days of the diversity and the Sony Japan and the weird and the quirky and the little experiments and everything that nobody cared about and nobody paid for. That's why they went away. But hey, you know what? Like I said, that is also a favorite topic amongst many. For some people, it's going to be the Switch 2. You know, the pricing that they have come up with is confronting for a lot of people. And then there's going to be, obviously, whether or not eventually it is going to be worth it to pay for this device when it is competing at a very similar price point to much more powerful devices in the home consoles. But of course, it has the advantage of being the handheld. But at the same time, its territory is also being encroached by a little bit, at least hardware wise, some of the PC handheld devices and everything like that. So, like any good generation, there's a lot to chew over. But we're talking about gaming. Can we take a moment to just step back and reflect on the gaming experiences and how goddamn amazing they've been across the board? I mean, listen, you guys know my new love, Claire Obscure, Expedition 33, right? This shit is pulling out 10 out of 10s out of the wazoo. And these are from people, from gamers telling you this thing. I'm telling you, if you haven't heard me say it before, Claire Obscure, Expedition 33 is one of the top 5 games of all time. I won't apologize for it. I won't back down from it. I won't soften it. I won't asterisk it. I want, put terms and conditions on that statement. It is true. It might not be true for you, but it's just true. And if you think I'm the only one, I was going to show you proof. I was going to show you like people that I follow, people that I don't follow, people that I agree with generally, people that don't agree with generally. I was going to put the post up there as testimony, as proof of my claim. But you know what? Fuck that. I don't need them. They don't need me. I'm making my statement on my own and I'm standing on it. And if my opinion means anything to you, then take that to the bank. Clair Obscure Expedition 33 is one of the top 5 games of all time. And I mean all time, across all generations, all platforms, all genres. Do like honestly, there's no caveat to that statement, okay? If you already have a top 5 list, you're welcome. Something just got knocked off because something needed to make space for Clair Obscure Expedition 33. If you've played it, you understand why I'm making that statement. If you haven't played it yet, play it. Play it because it's not a perfect game. And I'm telling you, because the pendulum is swinging so far to the correct side, which is saying that this is a masterpiece for the ages, eventually that pendulum though will be forced to swing back the other way from all of the people that are going to point out some of the plot holes or some of the this or some of the technical things that are not just brilliant and how the hair physics and that realistic and how this and how that the little nitpicky details until they convince you that something that is genuinely a 10 out of 10 product is closer to an 8. And that's sad because that's going to make you sad because they're wrong, first of all, and second of all, because it's just saddening. And do you want to be sad? You don't want to be sad. And I mean, listen, if you already are sad, and I know you don't want to be, but if you already are, go and get yourself Clear Obscure Expedition 33, and you will get there. But this isn't just about that game, it's about the generation of games. This generation has given us God of War Ragnarok, has given us the Baldur's Gate 3, has given us Clear Obscure, has given us Assassin's Creed Shadows, which for many people is the first Assassin's Creed in a long time to actually be worth investing into. Has given us so many wonderful gaming experiences, whether you're talking about Spider Man 2, whether you're talking about Horizon Forbidden West, whether you're talking about Gran Turismo 7, and I'm just naming the Sony staple at the moment, but even from the Xbox staple, granted, they haven't hit the highest highs, but Forza Horizon 5, that was this generation, and that is widely considered to be a great game. Now you have Doom the Dark Ages, which literally just dropped just a few days ago, and that's superly, super satisfying to a lot of people that enjoyed that. On the Capcom side, have they given us like amazing Resident Evil remakes and everything like that for people that enjoy that type of game? Monster Hunter Wild for people that enjoy that type of game. I think Capcom is a company that a lot of people find themselves truly happy with this generation. Square Enix has given us some of the best, even though apparently no matter what we do in return in terms of supporting and paying for the product, We could never satisfy them, but it is what it is. It's a bit of a contentious relationship there, but we'll do what we can do. Um, but more than that, more than the first party and more than the third party, we have the indie developers and we have the independent developers and then we have the small developers. And for the first time in probably the history of gaming, a title that comes from a fairly small studio, less than 100 people or less than 200 people, definitely, can look and have the presentation and the gameplay mechanic smoothness of a big AAA production. These smaller titles can be more inventive, can be more innovative, can be more daring with the concepts, whether that's story wise, gameplay wise, presentation wise, art wise, in ways that a AAA production will be reluctant to. But now, before in previous generations, we would have had to accept alongside that some technical acuity that will be missing from the package. You take a look at Helldivers 1 to Helldivers 2, for example. In the previous generations, oh, now it's a top down game. Oh, it's this and it's that. Okay, cool. But in this generation, even a small studio can create Helldivers 2. In previous generations, you take a look at Housemark, they're coming up with all of these games, that are still the bullet hell, that are still doing all the things that they are doing. But this generation, they're able to give us a Returnal and eventually a Sours down the line. In previous generations, you had companies like Hazelight Studios that would give us things like A Way Out, and now they can give us things like Split Fiction, It Takes Two. Like this generation this is the one. This is the one where all of these smaller companies can give us such a wonderful product with a polish, a level of quality, of smoothness that would have been locked out of the budget, would have been locked out of the means just about 10 plus years ago. Just 10 years ago, they could not do this because it would have cost so much, whether that's in administration fees, whether it's in licensing fees, whether that's just in not having partners that are readily available. This generation has benefited from things like PlayStation Plus and Game Pass, in the fact that these first party companies can go and support a project to the point of putting them on their subscription services, hopefully in exchange for a fair compensation. That means that a game is finally realized or is realized to a higher degree than it would have been able to be realized without that support. So that's been great. The games have been phenomenal. I understand there are many people that feel that weight, the duration, like, oh my God, we haven't had a new Naughty Dog game in XYZ. Yes, absolutely. There's no such thing as a perfect generation. It's perfectly fine. That's okay. We can accept that. But I was listening to a podcast the other day, and the person said that, oh, I'm thankful for second party and third party games, because without those, this generation will be fucked. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course. Like, since when are we not thankful for first, second, and third party games? Since when do we not count those in a generation? Is a generation of PlayStation consoles only defined by what PlayStation can bring forward? What about the people they partner with in terms of like second party deals? That's how we call it, right? PlayStation calls it something different. But what about them? Do we count them too? Do we count things like the Stellar Blades of the world? Because that was a direct relationship with Sony, right? Even at the beginning with like Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo, that was brought about by a direct relationship with Sony. Some people really enjoyed those games. Do like we've never not counted the third party games. And when we take a look at third party, of course, we are always going to find more titles that we are thankful for third party, because unless you are like Microsoft in being probably one of the largest publishers in the world, unless you are them, your first party output is always going to pale in comparison to the sheer quantity, the sheer volume of third party releases. And when you have a lot of volume like that, eventually they're going to be the gems. They're going to be the Clay Obscures. They're going to be the Baldur Gates 3s. They're going to be all these wonderful titles that we get to experience and we get to benefit from, but they should be counted as part of the generation. This narrow minded, myopic focus on only first party output, I think it does us all a disservice, and it's not representative of how other people remember previous generations. People will be like, "Oh, what was your favorite game on the PS2 or the PS3?" And then a person will name a GTA game, and it's like, okay, so it counts for that generation, even though it's not the first party from any camp. But then you don't want to, and then people will be like, "Oh well, I love the first Mass Effect. Then it was exclusive to Xbox." Yeah, absolutely, it was exclusive to Xbox, but it wasn't the first party game. So you have all of these things where, again, people have these rose tinted glasses, but the truth is that they're not judging them the same way. So let's just accept that for every single generation, first, second, third party, and whatever, indie or whatever other denomination of games, all of those count. Whether it's cross gen or not, it counts. Okay? And when you take a look at the entirety of this generation, it's been wonderful. It's been great. It's been fantabulous. People still play Elden Ring to this day, and these are not even games that personally appeal to me, but are games where I can recognize the quality, I can recognize the impact, I can recognize the joy that it has brought so many people. And let's face it, hardware wise, this is probably the best generation since the PlayStation 2 in terms of like where it sits relative to what PC can accomplish. I'm sorry, but the PlayStation 5 is the wonderful console. It is such a great console. It's quiet, it's fast. I think the design looks good, but that is, of course, subjective. But it just gets you into the game as quickly as possible, as painlessly as possible. I know that people have issues with the UI. I have issues with the UI. I don't think it's a perfect UI. In many ways, there are still things that the PlayStation 4 did that the PlayStation 5 doesn't do as well when it comes to the UI. We can accept that this isn't some kind of like everything is flawless kind of a thing. But when you look at the product overall holistically, my God, this is a fantastic console. And I'm sorry, but it puts the PCs to shame. When you take a look at the price that it costs versus what it gives in return, it's not even comparable. I mean, it's embarrassing what it does compared to PC. And then you have the PlayStation 5 Pro, which is pushing the benchmark in a real way. Not like the PlayStation 4 Pro. The PlayStation 4 Pro, as a person that had it and I actually got it for free, I can tell you it wasn't worth taking out of the box. That's a little bit hyperbolic, but still, seriously, it was. It wasn't half a step forward. It was like a slight nudge forward. Just like no. I think the Xbox One X was a much better mid-gen refresh than the PlayStation 4 Pro was. 100,000%. 100,000%. If I had a choice between a PlayStation 4 Pro and an Xbox One X, I would choose the Xbox One X. 100%. As far as the mid-gen refresh, it was the much better product. Of course, unfortunately, it was tied to Xbox and they kind of fucked that up, but hey, you know what? Hardware wise, hardware to hardware, Xbox One X far superior. However, you take a look at the PlayStation 5 Pro, and it is a real step. It is a full step forward in the progression of console platform technologies when it comes to gaming. And we should be thankful for that. And it stands its own against PCs that cost twice as much, sometimes over twice as much. Now there's been a rumor that uh, PlayStation has ambitions to making 4K 120 a more common reality on the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, you know that I don't care too much for insiders. However, they wouldn't be saying this out of thin air, right? Number one. Number two, even if you miss the mark, and instead of 4K 120, it's 4K 80 frames per second. That is a more common reality as a performance mode. bruh. We did it. We all know that the aim of this generation, the goal that we all want to march towards is 4K 60. If we can all just get 4K 60, done. And if we can get 4K 60 with some embellishments like real-time ray tracing, global illumination, or ray trace shadows, or ray trace this, or path tracing even, Jesus Christ, if we can get 4K 60 with some of those embellishments to just make the lighting technology even more fidelius, higher fidelity, fidelius. So we're going to say fidelius. Okay? If we could do that, that would be such a wonderful thing. But man, listen, they're trying to aim for the stars, and we should encourage that. 4K 120, fuck yeah. We can do it on PlayStation 5 Pro, double fuck yeah. That's so great, because that means that the next generation is pretty much guaranteed to hit that milestone as the base console. Fantastic generation. Listen, this generation not perfect, especially the fact that so many price increases rather than decreases, which is absolutely fucked. It's absolutely fucked. And the state of the world is such a case where we're just like we look at these companies and we're like, yeah, we get it. But but still take a look at access to games. A person may pay more for their hardware, but with the prevalence of these subscription services, if you wanted to get your money back, if you're like, damn, I paid $100 more than I wanted to, or I paid $200 more than I wanted to for a PlayStation 5 or a PlayStation 5 Pro, man, you could try your best to finagle things and to make things your savings by just using the subscription services. If you're on Xbox, use Xbox Game Pass. And maybe if you haven't been in gaming for a long time or you just haven't been able to keep up with a lot of, maybe your backlog is going to be big. You're going to find a wonderful backlog waiting for you to enjoy. And whether you play in ahead of year to year or you go month to month, you have the option. So you have ways of sort of making the financial component work in a more easy way than ever before. I mean, let's be honest. We, as a kid, I'm going to speak about myself. As a kid, I would have loved, I would have adored a PlayStation Plus Extra or an Xbox Game Pass subscription. I would have taken such a huge advantage of that. And so you think about this generation, and these things as standard as Netflix, basically. They are as readily available, they're not hidden, you don't have to do weird things. Yes, they're getting more expensive, and that is again just the word. Really, the cost has been the true downside of this generation. Just everything costing more, whether that's the hardware itself costing more over time, whether it is the PlayStation 5 Pro coming in at a higher price point that other people were expecting, even though I think it's at the correct price point. But that's besides the point. Whether it's games that are now going to push $80, but at least for most platform, besides Nintendo, we know that those games will come down in price and will eventually even be added to those subscription services. So again, your personal finances are your own, of course, and your discussion with your finances is as it should be. It belongs to you 100%. The only person that has to like the library that you have is you. But the good thing is that the barrier to entry to enjoy gaming for more people has actually been lowered overall when you take a look at the wonderful thing that these subscription services can do. Because, man, listen, if you were a parent and you had multiple children for some weird ass reason, you will be able to get one subscription and literally just delegate all that out to your family. That's a wonderful thing. That is a great thing. That is a benefit of this generation as well. But you don't even have to be a parent. You could be an adult living on your own, single or in a couple, but you don't need to have children to take advantage of these services either. There's so many great games that you may not have given a chance and opportunity, but they are available to you as part of your subscription if you already have it, or that just that one extra game that you give a go, if you are going to pay for it a la carte. And it's just like, man, it's great. Clear Obscure Expedition 33, by the way, is available on Game Pass. If you haven't been convinced yet by me, please at least try it on Game Pass and see just how wonderful this game is, because it doesn't take you 500 hours to start to like the game. It happens pretty much right away. It hits you where it matters, man. It really, really does. And speaking of that, storytelling in games, man, storytelling in games has gotten so much better. Writing in games has gotten so much better, and it seems that great writing is available at even more modest studios and more modest projects and more modest budgets. Fantastic. Fantastic. This generation is awesome. If I was to rank this generation right now, I would call it definitely an 8 out of 10. Definitely an 8 out of 10. The reason that I wouldn't call it 10 out of 10 is number one, the cost increases have been palpable. And I mean, just whew, palpable. It is what it is, right? Then the second one would be that Xbox has unfortunately sort of given up their spot. Their competitive spirit has been crushed. And listen, I do not mind companies that do not serve the market as well as they should going out of business or having to change direction. But the thing is, I do want a competitor to come into the space. So my issue isn't so much that Xbox is going to leave the console space. That's fine. My issue is how quickly will another person rise up to pick up the mantle, because that's what I want. I want that competition to keep going. It doesn't have to come from Xbox. Xbox isn't sacred. It's not sacrosanct. Neither is PlayStation, by the way. If PlayStation wasn't serving my needs and what I want out of gaming, well, they can go out of business too. It is what it is. But I do want somebody else to come and pick up the slack. So for those two reasons, I'm tempted to an 8 out of 10, generally speaking. But for me personally, man, this is pretty damn close to a 9. And when I think about the fact that I truly believe this generation should be extended till at least 2030. Okay, so that means that the PlayStation 6 should be released in November 2030. Because, man, listen, with everything that is going on, it would be so incredibly unfair for a person to go and pick up a Series X or a PlayStation 5 or a PlayStation 5 Pro within the next year or so, having paid the extra cost, only to then be told a year or two later that, hey, you need to pay up again in order to be at the current level. I just think that's pretty scummy. I also think that a lot of these developers, as much as I give them time to cook and everything, listen, you haven't released your projects. Santa Monica has only got what, God of War Ragnarok out. Naughty Dog has got nothing. We only have Interstellar coming out. It's just like, I don't see the rush. And the thing is, the hardware is good. This hardware doesn't feel old. It feels like it is keeping up. It feels still not fully realized, to be honest. To be honest, Unreal Engine 5, for example, still doesn't feel fully baked out. Like, it doesn't feel fully ready. It feels like it has a lot of promise. Like I play Clear Obscure. That's one on Unreal Engine 5, I'm pretty sure. And I'm just like, yeah, these people are able to do things that just a few Unreal 5 projects ago were not doing. So it feels like it hasn't quite hit maturity yet. And I feel like once it does, it's going to be a tectonic shift in the industry. If it can give us that wonderful visual, that wonderful performance, that wonderful fidelity without having to require a nuclear submarine to power, I mean, that's going to be fantastic. And listen, on the PC side, let's be honest, even though I don't include PC, but that shit's getting ridiculously expensive. Like, honestly, the price of the new 50 series cards, I mean, that shit makes your heart ache. It makes your heart ache. $7,000 in Australia for a 5090. $7,000 on a GPU. That hurts. Man, that's like a luxury watch. I rather have a luxury watch, even if it's a starter luxury watch. I rather have a $7,000 watch than a 7,000 GPU. Jesus Christ. All for what? For gaming? Nah, if you're getting 5090, man, your computer better make you money. Your computer better be the primary way that you make money. Damn, that shit is expensive. So listen, end of the day, I think that this has been a wonderful generation. And I want us to be able to say that without having to like look like, oh, we're apologetic about it. This has been a great generation. I named some of the games, and there are so many others that have been so monumentous for the industry, for gaming as a whole, for the culture. Freaking Helldivers 2 was such a big event, such a big momentous event, right? And so many other games I can't even think about right now because it's like 2:40 a.m. Jesus Christ, I should really go to bed. Point is, Emmanuel's horrible sleep management schedule aside, it's been a great generation. You should say it proudly, and yeah, absolutely. Okay, cool. That's it. You know what? I'm gonna go to bed. Yeah, I'm gonna go to bed. And yeah, that's it. No, there's nothing more to say. Great generation, fantastic generation. I think it should be extended. I think there's a lot more goodness to come. I'm really looking forward to a lot of the projects from pretty much everybody that's going to be coming out because Xbox has got that whole Perfect Dark, the whole Fable, the whole this. It's just that I'm going to be a bit more cautious about them. But aside from that, pretty good, pretty damn good space. And I could not be more excited to see more and more indie games just hit that hit that magic sauce where they're able to bring the unique creativity and the unique passion to the projects while still having a presentation that is worthy of all of us without asking for any caveats or any cutbacks from us. That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Oh, and then there's like a tectonic GTA 6 coming out, just in case, lest we forget, the game that will be everybody's favorite game in the entire world, except maybe for me, because honestly, I don't like GTA games all that much ever since San Andreas, but that's a me problem. But for everybody else, this will be the thing, and it will be this generation. So, man, listen. Whew, this generation's got it on lock. You should be worried about PlayStation 6 generation. Let's be honest. That's the one that's going to have to prove something because, man, listen, PlayStation 5 gen and Xbox Series gen, yeah, yeah, y'all are doing good to gamers, and we should be happy about that. We should be proud of that. Good job. Not perfect. Lots of things we need to work on. Lots and lots of things we need to work on. But we can take the time and smell the roses. Talk to you later.